Today's question comes from Jim in Florida. I'm struggling in giving recently because I have plans that I need to accomplish, buy a house and get my small business off the ground. I am a generous person, but I feel like I'm being cheap when it comes to giving or when my wife gets to get something for her friends or sister. I don't feel good while deep inside I know that I am. I'm kind of confused if I'm changing to a jerk and a selfish person, but honestly, I'm doing it for my family, so I need some help. Jim. I think that there's a reality that when you have your bases covered in your home and with your family and the needs are provided for, it allows that generosity to flow even greater with maybe not as much stress. But this doesn't sound like it's I need to take care of my family first. I mean, yes, you want to be able to buy a house for sure, get my small business off the ground. But this, I would say too, though, Jim, that giving, it doesn't have to be extravagant. And so starting to give a little until you can give a lot, right? Like if there are things in your life that you're wanting to do, we all have that. But that doesn't mean you can't do both, is what I would say.
Yeah. It sounds like that what's bothering you more than the actual giving to the sister or to the friends or whatever by your wife is that it feels like that's blocking these other goals, and it's not. That's the reality. So the way you can overcome that is just budget for it. Just say, we're going to put a line item in the budget, you and your wife, we agree on our entire budget, but we're going to agree on this is the amount that your wife has for friends and sister. And don't go over that. And then you can use the rest of the budget and see that you are able to accomplish your goals of doing stuff in the business or saving up for a home or whatever. You'll see that if you budget $100 or something, it's not going to keep you from doing those other things. But this idea that it's not got any limits on it and you're not in agreement when she's doing these things, that's where the rub is. So if you were in agreement and it had a reasonable limit and you were in agreement on the limit, on the amount that your wife has for these two activities, sister and friends or whatever you want to call it, then you'd be okay with it. But it's just the ambivalence of it that is that's probably throwing you, because you're obviously a person who plans. But this is not something. It doesn't make you a bad person to say I'm going to accomplish some goals. That's not a bad person. Now, what we do teach and have taught from the very beginning around Ramsey, and I think it's good to get into this a little bit, is you want a baseline of giving that is your normal rhythm in your life every month. And then you have, when you are prospering and you've got extra money above that normal budgeted giving that's just flying around, and you have a choice between buying, another thingy and doing some generosity, then you can change and do some generosity with that surplus money, that extra money that's from prospering. But when you're first starting out, we teach people to limit their giving to their baseline normal giving. Now, for those of us that are Christians, evangelical Christians, we teach and believe within our faith to give a tithe, a tenth of our income, to your local church. That's your baseline. That's your normal rhythm of giving. You don't stop doing that. And above the tithe is called offerings, and all throughout Scripture, offerings come from surplus, from prospering. And so they would come after you're out of debt, after you've taken care of your own household. And so this idea that you're supposed to give away the rent money and your kids become homeless because you were generous, that's absurd. And it's not scriptural for those of you that are Christians, by the way. Take care of your own household first, or you're worse than an unbeliever. That's scriptural. And that's not lacking in generosity. It doesn't make you a bad person. Quite the opposite. It makes you a good person.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we start with taking care of our house. Then we can expand and say, we're going to take care of people outside of our house. And then we can expand and say, we're going to change our family tree. And then we can expand and say, let's change our whole community. But that all comes from the surplus above the normal rhythm of giving. And I think you need to put a rhythm of giving, Jim, in your budget for your wife to have some freedom without being worried about you being upset about it.